Good night, good evening, and happy election night 2018. All right, everybody, it's been a hell of a night. A lot of people are really excited tonight, and I am excited to be here with you tonight on the 11th hour. My name is Dwayne Hirsch. I'm your agent, your advocate, and your entrepreneur. As an agent, I am Hirsch Network Real Estate brokered by eXp Realty. As your advocate, I represent the executive board of the Small Business Advocacy Council. And as an entrepreneur, I represent many different things that are geared toward creating a better new economy for us all and helping us all to engage and advance this new economy. And elections are very exciting because they give us an opportunity to really get a look at how we can steer ourselves toward a brighter tomorrow, if that's what your outlook is. You know, a lot of people say that Barack Obama said that this election was the most important election. Now, they always say that shit, to be honest with you. They always say that. But a lot of people feel that way because of all of the things going on in Washington and around the country. A lot of people are very excited. And I, as a nonpartisan person and dealing with what I do and the work that I do with the Small Business Advocacy Council, I kind of have a different perspective on these things. But that's also a perspective that is driven by this nonpartisan approach and what I've learned in doing that over the past several years in working to bring benefit to small business owners. And to give you a little bit of context about that, you know, we just got the first figures released from when we got the LLC filing fee bill passed after 4 years of lobbying for that in Springfield. The numbers went from like 9,800 filings up to like 15,000 some odd filings within the same quarter 1 year later. And so every level of the fee structure for LLCs where the fees went down saw increases in revenue that was generated from that. So we take responsibility for that. We take pride in having done that, but there's a way that we did that. Because in our world with advocacy work, we do what I like to call meritorious advocacy work. And what that means is that we take the simple merits of an issue and present it to legislators in Springfield and now in even the city of Chicago and work that up the political process till we can get to a point where that goal of changing that law is achieved. So in the past several years, whether it was equity crowdfunding, the LLC bill, the bill we got passed late last year to change the Liquor Control Act of 1934, and a lot of other legislation in between and forthcoming, we've been working very hard and making a lot of great strides in doing that. But a part of doing that is because I think that as a people, I think we hurt ourselves a lot of time because we take what I call an adversarial approach to politics. We make it like this us versus them thing. It's like from the time we're in school as children, it's the students versus the teacher, the employee versus the employer. And we take that over into politics and we have this kind of a us versus the system mentality. And the politicians oftentimes represent that system. And so in my time in going to Springfield, going to City Hall and seeing these different things through advocacy work and being at events and forums with aldermen, shout out to our elected officials, shout out to those that I tagged tonight and those that I didn't, state representatives, aldermen, all of our elected officials, and those that won tonight. You know, you're going to have a new governor now, you're going to have a new attorney general, and a lot of other new people entering the game. But remember, you can't really hold anybody accountable if you don't know how to engage them first. And part of the way you engage them is by not making that an adversarial issue. So the first thing I'll tell you about that is to do this. First of all, be informed on the issues. The way that you reduce your tension in the political game is to not get yourself tied up in the emotion of the things that you read and you see in these videos. All day, every day, my phone is ringing with Facebook Messenger videos of these political things and these gotcha moments and these things that are driven to cause you the type of emotion that'll get your ass to go out to the polls and vote to change some things, and things are changing, right? But you have to be informed. So I made a post the other day that said that I would rather have less people vote and they be informed about what they're voting for than have everybody vote and have my future in the hands of a bunch of people who really don't understand it. Some people took issue with that. Others saw my point, and whether you get it or not, just understand that when it comes to getting things done at the end of the day, your only approach is to engage. Because to stand on the outside and sit on Facebook and talk a bunch of shit and think you're doing something, you're doing nothing and you're getting nowhere. So the first thing is, again, to be informed on the issues. You know, you say, oh, let's hold them accountable. We'll vote them out of office. Your votes are not the thing that hold people accountable. Your money is what hold elected officials accountable. So I want to give you a perspective on something. If I'm the alderman of a ward and half of my ward is putting up a bunch of money for my election, and the other half is voting for me based on the money that I take from this side to spend and put signs in the yard of the people on this side and run TV ads that they can see. When I win the election, who do I actually owe? The person that voted or the person who paid the money that bought the votes that put me there? See, that's what you call lien position in the mortgage game. The first lien position in that goes to the person who put up the money to get you there, not the person who voted as a result of that money that you spent. Keep that in mind. That's very important. And I want to remind you of something else. Now that we have this mode now, I want you, so understanding the issue, meaning understanding where we are. So 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if nothing has changed for our people, if state contracting issues have not changed, some of these other issues have not changed, you're going to have people that's going to say this. They're going to say, well, J.B. Pritzker is dealing with the leftovers of Rauner's administration, and this is why he can't get anything done. Because keep in mind now, you have now again what they call a trifecta. You have a governor that's a Democrat, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House. So now that happened, the last time that happened, that circumstance actually existed from 2003 until 2014. You had what they call that trifecta: Democrat governor, Senate, and House. I don't think things were really that much better then, and Rauner certainly didn't do anything to make it that much worse as far as I'm concerned. But nevertheless, as a nonpartisan person, I can deal with them on the merits of what they do well and what they don't. He did things well in certain things that he supported that we put forth that made sense to small business owners. And that's why you have that many more people, or part of the reason at least why you have that many more people filing LLCs. But it took us 4 years to get that done. And it wasn't his fault that it took that long, just to be real about it. But that's not throwing shade on a new governor. New governor, I want you to be prepared to work with us. Don't raise my taxes. If you make cannabis legal, I think that's something that we need to be looking at taking advantage of from a business opportunity. And I expect to be involved and working to help you get involved to create angles for yourself in that. But that's how I work with them. So by being informed on the issues, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and ask them a question that some of you probably never have. What can I do for you? How can I help you? What does the ward need that I can be a part of to provide? So if I talk to Alderman Dow, if I talk to Alderman King or any of the other aldermen, say, what can I do for you? I'm in the real estate business. There might be things I can participate in to help the housing situation in any given area. But these are the things that I avail myself to because I don't want to be in the adversarial side of this. So part of that comes from the fact that we have to understand what they're up against. We have to understand what state representatives and stuff are up against. We were in Springfield one time on an SBAC lobbying trip, and one of the state reps that we were meeting with during dinner said, hey, we need you guys. We need people like you guys coming down here, kind of telling us what's really in the minds of the people, because we don't always get to see that. They have thousands of different bills coming across their desk all the time. If you don't understand their job, you think their job is all about damn Chicago, but it's about an entire state or an entire city or an entire county, and some of that business does not include you. But that's not something that we should be mad at them about, but that's something we need to help navigate on our side. So my idea is, what can we do to make your life easier? What can we do to make your life easier? Now, as a part of the SBAC, one of the other things that happened a lot that I really found interesting when I went down there is that there's not a lot of black men walking around the halls of Springfield lobbying on this somewhat independent level, I guess, what you would call it more. So you have a lot that work for lobbying firms or that own their own lobbying firms that are lobbying for corporate interests and otherwise. But on the level of what we do in the SBAC, there's not a lot of that. So sometimes we go down and a lot of the guys, shout out Marcus Evans, Napoleon Harris, guys like that, Ken Duncan, when he was there, and LaShawn Ford, please, would come in and really, embrace me and say, hey man, what is it that you need? What are you down here for? What are you here to talk about? And damn it, we glad to see you. We wish we see you more. So that creates an environment of friendliness with us, where I can go to them and say, hey, you got this new thing going. I know you got some initiatives out there. What can I do for you? Politics is all about a quid pro quo, guys. It's what are you doing for me? It's an exchange. Whether you watch even the TV shows that you watch, that stuff is not built on fiction in that respect. It's a quid pro quo. It's I'm going to do this and I need you to do that. And if we can both do that, then we're good to go. And that's it. So if you ask them what you can do for them, then the next thing is what it is that you expect in return. Or it can still be a vice versa thing. If you have a project that I've seen people go into automatic offices and go into forums and things that people are having for information, and people just go off. Nobody asks questions at Q&A time no more. Everybody making statements and trying to be heard. That's not an effective way to allow our elected officials to address the issue that's really going on. They spend more time tied up in the wild emotional statements of people versus answering real substantive questions. So you can help them by asking a damn question that really makes sense, and stop making statements that's built around your own personal shit. When you come with a project, if you want to build houses, you want some land, you want a grant, you want to open up a house for despondent men, or a halfway house or something like that, you have to go to them with a plan that makes sense and that's correct. And not get mad when they tell you no because your shit is not together. I'm not letting the politicians off the hook with this, but this is just real. And this is what I see. And I know that if you guys are out tonight, if you watch this tomorrow, and I hope you get some benefit from it, because I'm not letting politicians off the hook in this, because one of the things that you have to do is to be better explainers to people of the process, because you know that this is built around emotion, and the emotions that people are being driven to by media sources, by social media. You have to be patient with that and not be reactionary on that. And you have to come back and give people substantive answers, because they hired you and they put you there. But to those of us that voted them in, don't think that that's some kind of magic wand to go whooping some damn body with. Be informed about what you put them there for and give them the ammunition to do the job that you provided. And that leads me to kind of my last point. As a person who's a big believer in equity crowdfunding, I told you a long time ago that there's enough of us doing well enough to build enough to help the rest of us. And I think that we could do that without political leaders being involved in everything, or them being the catalyst to all that. I think there's enough out there for us to be able to attack that on our own. Other people don't sit around and wait to do that, and that's why they get more out of their political leaders than we do. However, political leaders know that if they tell you to use a tool like equity crowdfunding, and they tell you essentially to do it yourself, they know that you are going to believe that they are now shifting their responsibility to you. That they're going to basically shift their responsibility to you and tell you do it yourself when they should be doing it for you. I believe we should be doing it for ourselves. And I would welcome any alderman or elected official that's listening. What I want to pledge to you here tonight is that I have a dedicated strategy to see something like that through, and I am making an open invitation for myself to come to your office to have this discussion with you and present to you exactly what I see, in hopes that you will support our efforts to do it for ourselves. But my question to you, Facebook, is are you going to be ready when that time comes to put more in it for yourself? Because JB, with all the money he spent, he He ain't coming to build you ice cream castles in the summertime. That's not what he's coming to do. If you old enough to get the Morris Day reference, shout out to Morris Day on that one. But that's not what JB is coming to do. JB is not coming to pour money into your community. He may create opportunities. That's all we need him to do. So I want to make that clear. That's all I need from any of them in my mind, is for us to have an opportunity. That's all any of us should want, is an opportunity, not a handout, not a gimme. Because if you creating jobs, I don't need you to feed my children breakfast in the morning for school. If you create opportunities for me to earn in a way that I can do that, or that these young mothers and people can do that themselves, then you don't need to. But there's enough of us doing well enough to build enough to help the rest of us. And so we can still do that and create that on our own. You know, going into this holiday season, I'm going to be issuing the Dwayne Hurst Masterclass online. And I want you to really, you know, if you know someone that you can gift that to, let them have that and let them learn the psychology of entrepreneurship, business development 101, and networking. And part of that psychology series deals with the way that we manage the political process, the way that we manage political officials in business and engage them to create benefit for ourselves as individual business persons. And then if each of us do that, we can do that as a community. That's the way out of this thing, guys. It's not a magic person dropping out of the sky is not going to do that. But I do agree with the idea that they can create opportunities that help us all do better. But we got to work with them. We can't be adversarial. You can't walk up to your alderman. They don't know who you are. They don't know your damn email address and the email you sent them with some long ass diatribe 6 months ago. Be kind, be professional, be deliberate in what you're dealing with them, and respect the fact that everybody is looking for them for their time. Hell, I need some of the alderman's time. And no, I don't want to sit in the office and wait for you to be in there with nothing. Let's focus on what we're bringing to them, and we can be helpful to them. We don't have to be adversarial, and we can help whoever gets elected do better. Because I think that advocacy, particularly that's meritorious, nonpartisan advocacy, is a hedge against unfavorable election results. So if you don't like who won tonight, if your favorite people didn't win, just remember that there's a means by which we can always get what we really want out of them. Because guess what? Changing the LLC laws, that was none of their idea. That was our idea. That came from the SBAC. That didn't come from a legislator. That came from someone and a group dedicated to getting the message up that ladder and getting it there. And that's all you really need to do. Standing in a forum in the middle of your neighborhood forum is not going to do that. That takes a constructive, organized effort. You can do that as a part of groups like the SBAC. There's tons of organizations throughout our community that have that type of power. The Chatham Business Association, the South Shore Chamber, the Hyde Park Chamber, the Austin Chamber, Arnaz Dancy in the Chicago Black Chamber of Commerce, Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. You have vehicles that are out there and other groups that advocate. But again, you have to do it in a way that gets the attention of both sides. Because the last thing I'll tell you is this: there is nothing like the power I've ever felt of walking into the offices of legislators inside our group, inside of our advocacy group, into a room where the political officials that are there have no idea who anybody in that room is voting for. You got white people in there, you got Jewish people, Latinos, Black, otherwise. Everybody's different. Everybody's coming from the straight down the pipe business angle, self-interested angle. And so it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, either you in or you in the way as far as the issue is concerned. That is a very, very powerful thing. So do not be afraid to engage that, and don't be afraid to engage your political leaders. And if you really want to hold somebody accountable, the way you do that is you go in there and offer them everything you can the right way, and then you can hold them accountable for not answering to your demand. And then you got a case. Other than that, you got nothing. So again, aldermen, elected officials, I'm pledging my help to you. I'm going to be submitting some new things to the public very soon that's built around this concept and this idea. Shout out to Amari Kamal and Community Capital and their work toward making sure that the equity crowdfunding message stays alive and gets out there. So again, you'll see me again soon. Tune in again to the 11th hour this Thursday night, where my subject will be disappearing days, the price of procrastination. Thank you guys. Enjoy the election night. Congrats again to the winners, and I'll see you guys on Thursday night. Peace. Peace.